As we move on from country to country, looking at the variety of poems written in various languages across the globe, I reached Korea. And then you might ask, why Korea? Of course, there are two Koreas. We look only at one, South Korea. I chose Korea because this year, the Nobel Prize, 2024 Literature Prize, has been given to Han Kang, born 1970. She had already won the Booker Prize in 2016 for The Vegetarian. So I said, why not Korea? And then I began my research and realized that we don't have any poems written in English by Koreans. So naturally, we have to go to translations. And then I said, which poet? And a little more research brought me to this poet, Kim Sowol, who I believe is so popular that the moment you mention his name, anyone in Korea will begin to recite a poem. So we are looking at the Jindallae Flower by Kim Sowol. The poem Jindallae Flower by Kim Sowol, 1902 to 1934. Actually, it's the pen name of Kim Jung-sik. Why did he choose this name as his pen name? Sowol. I believe Sowol means bright moon or white moon. So plus wall. His hometown is now in North Korea. He was a South Korean, and with all the political upheavals in that part of the world, his poems were banned in North Korea. However, interestingly, his poems are in the textbooks of South Korea, and many of them have been turned into beautiful lyrics. He has an award named after him. His poems are selected and published almost every year, and South Koreans are really proud of him. Because another achievement that he has to his credit, that he brought traditional folk songs into the modern lyric form. And that is why some people prefer to call him a folk song poet. Not much is known about his personal life, except that he began writing at the age of 17. And I believe he has left behind 150 poems, which were then published in literary magazines between the years 1922 and 23. In fact, the poem that we have today is taken from a book of poems. He did convey the sorrow of the Koreans then, because I just want to draw your attention to the condition of his country. They were then ruled by the Japanese, and there is the agony and the anguish of the intellectuals of that period. Jindallae Flower. It's a Korean flower. So if you look at the English translation, the flower is the Azalea's flower. It grows in many colors. It is a blend of sorrow and beauty when you think of this flower as a symbol. But before that, let me read the poem. Once I am shaped as the reason of your disgust, pushing you towards something not here. There will be no words. My letting go, enduring graciously. Somebody has decided to part, to depart. What can be the reason? Even when I read the entire poem, I'm not able to decide whether it's the woman talking to the man or the man talking to the woman. So beautiful, it could be either. And what difference does it make? Once I'm shaped as the reason of your disgust. So somewhere our love has gone cold. Somewhere that love which was so warm and so important and so much of a part of our lives is no more there. So, pushing you towards somewhere, you're going somewhere. Where? I don't know. Can I say no? Care also? Somewhere, not here. There will be no words. We are not going to be in touch with each other. My letting go, enduring graciously. I think there's a little moral here. When you've decided that love is dead, there's no point holding on, he says. So how am I going to let you go? Letting go. My letting go, enduring graciously. There has to be that grace to admit, to accept what one cannot change. On a hill where herbs grow young beyond province, Jindallae flowers are blossoming. And here, I've brought an armful I plucked to scatter them before you. Let us part, but let us not part, calling each other names, cursing. Let us part as friends. So what do? I want to make your departing, your departure beautiful, fragrant. So what have I done? I've plucked these flowers and I'm placing them. You know, roses all the way. But here it is Jindallae flowers to scatter before you. And that is why I want us to remember that the Jindallae flower is a symbol of beauty, but it is also a symbol of sorrow. As you take those steps away from here, you're going away. I've already said that. And for each you take, and this is the saddest part of the poem, and for each step you take, he says, a flower will need to be crushed. You're going to walk on those flowers. And the flowers here become a symbol for me, for my heart, for my feelings, for my memories, all that we shared together. And therefore, and for each you take, he does not use the word step, but we can understand. And for each you take, a flower will need to be crushed. To take care, to tread lightly as you leave me. Be in the shape of who I am that disgusts you so, pushing you towards somewhere, not here. Though, and the poem ends, this may be my death. No, tears won't flow where I am. A beautiful combination. Even though I'm dying because you're no more with me. I'm dying because what I loved is now leaving me. But there will be no tears, and that is important. He talks about the acceptance of separation, acceptance of departure, acceptance of the death of love, which is important. I think it's so beautiful. No, tears won't flow where I am. Think for a moment, do you think it is the man who's writing this poem or the woman? When feelings are so strong, I guess it can be either. We don't have to decide whether it's the lover talking to his beloved or the beloved talking to his lover. Why not? After all, love is the same, whatever gender, whatever sex you may be. Whenever I read a poem in translation, the first thing that strikes me is all sound-related figures of speech somehow get thrown out of the window. Yes, the rhyme scheme, for example, very difficult to retain the same rhyme scheme in translation. Alliteration, onomatopoeia, assonance, consonants, remember, all those get thrown out. But what can be retained, and very importantly, is the metaphor, the simile, if it does work in both languages, and of course, symbols. This poem is the Jindallae flower, and the symbol of the flower is retained as much in translation as it is in the original. But I think one must look at the thematic concerns too here, because this short poem seems to look at so many of these concerns. The first, the idea of farewell. to meet, to part, and then to depart. But in this departing, is there a sense of disgust? I think that makes it very sad. If love is soured to the extent that it has reached disgust. And then a question comes to my mind. I read something about the poet, and I do know that the poet had a tragic life. So do you think the poem is autobiographical? I leave you with the question. And then, of course, who is departing? But more importantly to me is the beautiful musicality of the entire poem. Of course, love has its own music, doesn't it? I wonder why we always talk about love and passion as being hot. If I live in a hot country, isn't coldness something that I look forward to? So why can't I have cold love? Come on, we all know enough science that as long as we are alive, our blood is flowing in our veins. And if blood is flowing in our veins, the body is warm. And that is why we say, lay dead and cold. Obviously, love cannot be cold. Let's go one step further and ask ourselves, is love meant to last forever? Lucky those who say, till death do us part. And therefore, there could be a cooling of love. There could be an end to love. There could be acrimony and hatred and disgust. Or there could be a sweet parting of ways with flowers strewn on the way. So let's imagine a beautiful love story, but as all stories, it needs to have an ending. And that's what this poem is all about. The ending of love and the separation that is an obvious result of this.